against better sides, you raise your game. Clark delivers this. He's sent out with ease. Maybe one of those players would have been Anwar Ali, but even he was taken out of the equation, which is why Sandesh Chingan and Rahul Bheke start this game. Nikhil Pujari, right full back. Akash Mishra and Roshan are both on the pitch. One of them offering a little protection, but Akash Mishra is sitting in the middle of the park. As of this point, Roshan in his familiar left full back role as the offside flag goes up. What are your thoughts on that? A little awkward, little odd. Maybe a makeshift last-minute adjustment from Khalid Jamil?
It kind of looks like that because if you take a look at the Indian formation, they've got 3 defenders and then just above them Akash Mishra and also Nikhil Pujari operating from a slightly more advanced role. So maybe just that extra bit of shielding that Khalid Jamil wants, because again he's well aware of the fact that Jamaica, they are not going to sit back. They'll come at you all guns blazing and they'll keep on doing this till the time they haven't breached the Indian defense. But again, going ultra defensive as well, not really a sign of promise, especially when you actually are here to learn a lot of things.
Now, we mentioned that every throw-in is going to be a slightly longer throw-in from India. There's the flick on from Jingan. It was his centre-back partner, Rahul Bheke's throw that came in. Free kick this time for Jamaica. Let's not forget a couple of firsts. Edmund Alrindika making his first start. Farooq gets picked. He's one of the Khalid Jamil favourites. Always makes his way into the squad. Just a hard worker. Tenacity, awareness in multiple positions. Still a few question marks as to if he will ever be the same Farooq again, but hasn't deterred him from continuing an advancement rather in his career, whether it's club or country. Lovely body feint, perfect weight on that ball as well. Space down the right, cut back was open, Gurpreet got a touch onto it. Almost went for half a shot, half a cross. More hopeful than anything else. Could have been a little more measured. Picked up by Clark. Clark tries to curl it in. It's a gorgeous goal. Exceptional beginning from Jamaica. And he's been one of the most busiest players ever since this game started and within the first 8 minutes. Jamaica, the sprinters' nation. Sprint into a 1-0 lead at the Valley. And India trail. Just a reminder of the challenge which stands in front of them. No surprise. But that doesn't mean we can't appreciate the sheer quality of the strike to put it past Gurpreet Singh Sandhu, who was at full stretch.
Goes without saying, brilliant finish, the way he swerved the ball towards that far side. No chance, but what's alarming is that the Indian defense, just that moment ahead when he got the ball, it looked like they had no clue where they were going. And it was a wonderful bit of setup as well for Clark. And then you feed him the ball in that particular juncture. Clark is extremely dangerous. And India pays an early price. And now the challenge that was already tough for them has now turned a lot more complicated.
Just mentioned earlier that looked like Mishra was in midfield. In fact, he's just slotted into a back 3. So it looks like it might be a 5-man back line with Akash Mishra also part of it. What was disappointing about conceding that particular goal is that when you've got 5 at the back, simply can't give Clark enough space to open his body and shoot. Here's Ryan Williams. He's got pace to burn. Nice little block before Changte could be found. There's certain calmness in this game, especially from Jamaica compared to last night's hectic, helter-skelter performance both from Nigeria and Zimbabwe, which makes it slightly easier to follow even decision-wise as Jamaica attack from the right once more. Couple of step overs, eyes on the ball and smashed away and outside the box. And Jamaica won't worry, it'll come back again. They're holding a high line as well. Just allows them to dominate India in possession, just in approach as well, getting that first goal. We saw exactly the same beginning from Nigeria last night. Scorers in the 8th minute. And then, of course, they failed to really make much of that early dominance. In fact, Zimbabwe were allowed a few chances. Hopefully, India were watching it, taking some inspiration from the fellow underdogs.
Yeah, but so far India really hasn't looked like that they have come again at the end of it all. If India, they're not going to press, and they'll need more numbers up front. It looks like India's already back on a retreat with Ryan Williams being the solitary advancing footballer in the opposition half, and that won't really help their cause. Jamaica, they're playing so many passes and they're playing that with consummate ease. The structure remains, and the task keeps on getting tougher for Khalid Jamal's men altogether. The way the passing sequence has been, the fluidity so far in Jamaica's transitions, that's quite a thing that will bother Jamil and his men.
Lovely switch out wide, couldn't control it and bring it down, Clark. And just keep an eye on how they make India run behind the ball. It's not something that should surprise anyone who's followed Indian football, because this is going to be the pattern. You use the term on the retreat, almost as if they're on the back foot already early on. Having worked with people who know the sport way better than the two of us do, Rohit, it's never a good sign when you're chasing the ball this early. And if you are, there has to be some kind of meaning about breaking forward with a lot of intent. Still early in the match, but looks like it's going to be a long evening unless they can fight back quickly. That sort of surprise factor, and whether India can bring it to this game or not is the big question. It's been a difficult build-up. A lot of top quality players are not selected for this one. Initially were and then weren't. There's no real point in going into the details of those stories. It's something that happens in every nation, but Khalid Jamil has had to deal with those last-minute adjustments. Not that he wouldn't have half expected them. As the ball just floats over Ryan Williams. Clark's adds some height and distance on that.
Another throw in, once again, another attack, and the Indian defense. And Akash Mishra in the frame. We were talking about him a few moments ago, knows very well what he's up against. Something that will test him. And just that contrast. A few moments ago, I think yesterday as well, this was talked about. India's going to go to long throws, wherein the other teams, Zimbabwe and Nigeria, they resorted to shorter throws.
Because shorter throws can lead to moments like this. A penalty shout, a referee in a great position, not
little show out there, and that's what you want. That's the kind of spark, that's the kind of ember. Again, it's not really gonna change your football by quantum leaps in a night, but at least that will give you the courage that you need.
Another important touch this time. Sandesh Jhingan Just forced a little out of position to make that challenge. Just the one save for Gurpreet so far. Had to stick out his right boot early in the game. When Jamaica opened India up down the right channel, simply had no chance when he conceded the first one. Brilliant strike from Clark, in case you've just joined us and missed that quality strike. There's Clark's pass out wide. Look how patient they are. There's a lot to learn from this particular methodology, even though Jamaicans are known for their athleticism, their ability to move the ball and run with it. It's not something they entirely rely on. Now, football is not a sport where you only run with the ball. You've got to make the ball work for you, not always chase it. A free kick this time in favor of Jamaica. That's a good win from Changthe. Decent cover. So much experience at the back. Both low. Of course, Brandon cover as well. Almost literally adding cover to every defensive move. This is perfectly weighted on the angle. India in trouble once more. Gurpreet forced into a save. It's not over though. Sandesh Jingan dives in. Nikhil Pujari and Rahul Baker then just holding back any urge to dive into another challenge, managing to keep the scoreline at 1-0.
Finally a bit of collective show altogether from the Indian rearguard. Despite the desperation that was being shown by Jamaica on that last move, India managed to keep things out. And that's kind of a feisty spirit again. That fighting spirit, that is so crucial. Of course, when Sandesh Chingan's right there at the back, you got to offer him that supporting play. You got to come in with that coordination. And then let Sandesh, Rahul and Gurpreet do the rest of the work.
Just these passes from right through the middle of the park, that is going to be disappointing for Khalid Jamil. If there's something that he trusts or backs himself to do, is make a side compact. With a couple of through balls that have come through, right through the middle, especially from a 5-man back line, you can't really expect so many attacks coming through the middle. Yes, okay, there's always space out wide. Every team gets cut open in the wide areas once in a while, but through the middle, that's something that Khalid Jamil will simply not accept.
A little more conversation with the players maybe. But again, the kind of players that he's right now got on the pitch, that already tells you that he wanted to start with that defensive setup. He didn't want to concede early. India has conceded early. But from here, kind of goes without saying, that's exactly where they'll try and keep things. Ryan Williams doing his own magic.
Edmund hardly had a touch so far. It's about time they got him onto the ball more. There's Farooq. Akash. Yeah, take your time. This is much better. It's still just 1-0. Get a feel of the pitch. Get a feel of the ball. How it bounces. Understand the physics of movement. And sometimes when you go to a different country, different climate, your lungs have to adjust. All of those things have obviously happened in the training sessions, and professional footballers are almost expected to automatically tune in with their bodies to the conditions that there are. It's not always as easy as it seems. It's not at any point in anyone's career an excuse as well. That is something they live and die by. At the same time, a little patience, a little composure, that's something football players can take into any condition in any part of the world and probably try and exercise. Much better. Here's Jackson. Jamaica not really offering a press. India should just be able to use that and say, okay, let's try and move them around a little bit, give them a challenge like they have been giving India so far.
Also, another one of those factors is that both these teams, they come from places where it's a lot more hotter than it is right now in UK. Goes without saying, obviously, a heat wave is going through the country. But then if you take a look at the temperatures as well, the heat in their respective countries, whether it's in Jamaica or in India, it's a lot more. So the conditions that we are talking about, at least in terms of weather, I think both the teams would feel a bit more comfortable playing out in the center. But then the ground conditions, at least when it comes to the Indian standard of the grounds, I think it's a lot more different right now in the valley.
But different in a better way.
Goes without saying. Absolutely goes without saying.
Nice collective work to win that ball back. Akash Mishra over the top, towering clearance to take that away. Here's Clark, dominated the game so far. Almost wondered whether we got it wrong in terms of his position because he kept going out wide so many times, but he is very much a central midfielder. That's smartly done by Akash, just bouncing it off the incoming challenge from Fuller. Had a couple of hydration breaks around the 22-minute mark, which is almost at the halfway mark of the first 45. That is when they're taking those drinks breaks. Allows Khalid Jamil to have a conversation. 1-0 down. You wouldn't really expect any criticism from him. One of those coaches who continuously drives in the same message over and over again. Work hard, be good to each other, find the right spaces for Jamaica. I think the task would be to increase the lead, make sure that the dominance counts. I'm wondering if this is the goal. It is the goal.
The way he just muscled past the defender, once again, there is a massive gulf between the physical statures of the Jamaican players and the Indian players. So he almost muscled his way through, got hold of the ball, and then that defensive duo should have done at least better to close things down. It felt like they were stranded. They had themselves flat-footed altogether. And that allowed the space that Courtney Clark was looking forward to. But truth be told, Pula, in the last 7 to 8 minutes, India has settled down a bit more than they initially were. And at least they are enjoying a bit more possession for now. And possibly they should try and do this. Again, small objectives, not really going into an overdrive, try and score a goal straight away. Small objectives, try and push Jamaica as far away as from your own half as possible.
I like that term, small objectives. And not just enjoy possession, also enjoy the football a little bit more. There's always intense pressure back home, especially now with the World Cup around the corner. Major news outlets all asking the obvious question, why are we not at the World Cup? Something everyone suddenly seems to ask every 4 years in an almost illogical way of trying to cover the football festival. Put all of that in the back of your mind. Try and enjoy this particular situation. You're in London, playing at the Valley. You may lose a game, you may lose two. But just at the heart of the matter, the intense scrutiny that comes from within the community, sometimes it's very difficult to shrug away. Not to say that the scrutiny is not worth merit or worth listening to, but as players, that is the big struggle. It's very hard to drown out the noise. And the only way to shut out all that noise is to win games, but you can't always win games. Still just 1-0 though. Hoping for the best. Jackson. Farouk. Should have been a little more active in getting onto the angle of that ball. And Jamaica have snapped back into possession. Dixon. Roshan alongside him, troubling him, buzzing around him, winning the ball back from him. Good defensive work, but then the pass after that, not quite. Could have kept it simpler.
And that's definitely the spirit that Roshan would want. Again, decent bit of defensive work, but then at the end of it all, it's not a part thing that you're doing. It's a complete turnaround that you'll also have to go forward with. But then Roshan, he'll definitely take heart from the fact that he's managed to keep that invasion away. And that is what India needs right now. Again, small wins. Snatch the ball, keep the ball at your feet, and start stringing at least a sequence of 5 to 6 passes together while you move forward.
Once again, Roshan, important touch. And Jackson now for Farouk. Quick exchange. Escaping the first challenge and winning a free kick for India.
Something upbeat. Something to look forward to. The first one of the game for the Blue Tigers. Again, the distance is pretty overwhelming. But at the end of it all, just trying to create something of their own.
Farouk should be taking this one. And Changte is quite close. Wonder if he's going to pick him out, but the orders are to put it into the box. Here's Sandesh Jingan. Best option. Didn't really expect him to do a step over and take his man on, but he can obviously shield the ball.
And possibly when you have Sandesh Jingan, ideally you'd expect him in a much more central role, at least in terms of set pieces, because of the towering header that he has.
They go for the long throw in again, even though there's a shorter option available in Changte. Thankfully, that is the one which is picked out. That's much better in terms of a plan. And Jamaica can turn defense into attack though. Excellent work to keep possession of the ball as well. And then it comes in and touched out eventually. And Nikhil Pujari will concede a corner rather than a chance.
And when you hail from a country of sprinters, transitions look like a cakewalk for you. They're going to be lickety-split. They're going to come at you as fast as possible. But then once again, showing decent situational awareness, conceding a corner all right.
Sent in by Fuller. Easily cleared away at the near post. India enjoying some possession over the last 10 odd minutes before Jamaica clamping and back on the ball again. Well, it's just 12:30 in India. 30 minutes past midnight. This is usually the time a lot of football fans in the country apparently wake up to watch teams like Real Madrid and Barcelona, and in the upcoming season, the two Manchester clubs and Liverpool and every other side, which is popular. It's a good test for all those Indian football fans to stay awake and watch their own country play. Hopefully, all of you who watch all the Madrids and the Barcelonas and the Milans play are staying up and watching India try and push back against Jamaica after going back 1 goal down.
Yeah, and a bit more of an advancing play from India maybe. You know, just one thing that they have to be very careful about right now. Do not commit mistakes at your own end. Do not commit those missed passes. keep the ball at your feet. If you're getting hold of that, keep the ball at your feet. Try and play those passes and try and come together as a unit instead of going for a long ball, hoping for Ryan Williams to just conjure magic out of thin air. String those passes together, and when you are losing the ball, press as hard as possible.
Good advice as the ball moves straight out wide. It's a decent first touch, but possibly a little too long. Did he get a last touch on it? It's going to be a goal kick for India then.
Roshan's been impressive, Bola, in the last 10 minutes, especially the way he's been winning those challenges. And on this one, that was decent body shielding, because again, when it comes to tussling with each other, it's not easy, especially with the kind of towering physique that the Jamaican footballers have.
Again, space down the right. There's the cutback. You have to stretch them. There's Jingan. Stretch he did. He asked for a flag to go up. Yeah, it was offside.
But really good to see again, not really wilting straight away. He didn't want to take any risks, so he did his part, and then eventually appealing to the assistant referee right then, this was offside. But yes, this is a better display, at least from the Blue Tigers. Let's see if they can build something from here.
Williams playing it out wide. Edmund found Roshan. Here's Jackson. And now Farooq. Akash Mishra. Roshan and Jackson exchange passes once more. And Chunk, they laid it up for Nikhil Pujari and Rahul Beke now. And Pujari couldn't keep that in play. Now that's what it allows. A three-man backline allows the likes of Roshan and Pujari to go slightly wider, push forward, stretch play. It's one way you can make Jamaica also move. Let's remember, one might think this is not as much of a challenge for them, but it still is. Might be a different kind of challenge, but it still is. And that's exactly what India need to exploit.
Another thing that we've seen so far, Pola, is that the moment India's crossing the halfway mark, at least on a couple of occasions, despite that initial bit of space, Jamaica's closing down the moment they are trying to zero in on moving into that box. So maybe just that extra line of defensive shield that India has, they push them forward so that they can play those cushioning passes altogether and force the Jamaican defenders to come forward a bit more, allowing a bit of space at the back for India to operate with.
You've got to understand, Rohit, though, that tactically sometimes, because we watch India play so much, because all of us watch a lot of football, we might want to dissect it in a very detailed manner. But if you break it down, Khalid Jamil's system, win the second ball, put the ball into the box, make something happen. If you follow a few basic principles, it should work out. Chunk is offside there. Had to stay within line, because if he stays in line with his man, instantly crossing approach. What is the Khalid Jamil system of play? Put the ball slightly high up, play direct, no problem at all. Get on, bounce on that second ball as quickly as possible, play a quick pass, make a counter, put the ball in the box, try and create a chance or a shooting opportunity. They don't need to always make it so detailed and analytical. It's sometimes the fans and those watching who are trying to find out every little space, every little angle. All of us are culpable of it because the sport is so interesting to watch. But if India manage to just keep the simple things and manage to pull them off, they'll give Jamaica a game.
It looks like there's a bit of a stoppage in the center, and that's why Jamaica put the ball out of the park. In all likelihood, in fact, it's the trouble with the ball. Most likely, a bit more deflated than the standards require it to be.
Well, nothing much has come after Jamaica's first 10 minutes of dominance. Over the top towards Ryan Williams, but needs better service than that, which is exactly why he had to skip back and look towards the supply line. Are there more problems? Now that one's rejected as well.
Yeah, in a span of let's say a minute, you won't see another ball that's just being pumped in, being taken off. But nonetheless, everything's possible when it's football. And that's possibly why it's a game that's played by almost every nation on the sport. On the world, apologies.
Samuel Smith, just 19 years old, and Jamaica's left back. He plays for Everton's under-21 side. Fuller, taken away by Changthe, who finds himself deep defending. Nicely done by Baker. Here's Akash Mishra. Changthe just dropped in slightly central. Maybe India just lacking someone in midfield who can spin on the ball quickly, turn a man. Just buy that extra half a second for a little more movement up front.
Changthe is definitely the man for that, considering the fact that he's got decent speed up his alley. Another long hit from Gurpreet, repelled away. Then again, to a certain extent, Jamaica, they've also kind of gone a bit to one-dimensional, because most of the balls is usually coming all the way to the left. They're trying to cut in, and Roshan Singh dealing with them with the same verve that has kind of allowed India now to kind of nullify the Jamaican attacks.
Do Jamaica have reason to be disappointed about the fact that they haven't really built much over their 1-0 lead? Not just in terms of dominance, but no chances, no more clear-cut opportunities, despite India almost being on the back foot, as you mentioned in the first quarter of an hour.
And they'll take this performance at least going forward.
Now the attack down the right. That's where they found the most joy. There's Clark controlling things again. Here's Ming. Ming, of course, plays for the wonderfully named football club Pleasant FA. Heavy touch, a good recovery in the end. Farouk, possibly just a little too much in terms of his hands, using both of them at the same time, pushing his man away right in front of the referee. A little too passive from both the sides. It's in complete contrast to what we saw last night.
Yeah, last night was all about pace and fury. Today it's about both the sides kind of sussing out the waters. Of course, for Jamaica, that was early dominance.
A little bit of a risk from Boyce Clark. The 23-year-old who plays for Aldershot. And now suddenly there's space. This time down the left, very smart pass as well. In went Sandesh Jingan with a typically Jingan challenge. Another chance this time. Fuller went from distance. And Jamaica also sometimes looking out of ideas despite being in the lead and being more experienced and the more higher ranked nation, which is why we use the word passive. Can't be sussing each other out for 40 minutes.
Possibly missing out their senior players as well. Quite a few players rested. But then again, at the end of it all, the overall footballing ecosystem, it is kind of prevalent with all the players. So maybe you would expect something better from Jamaica right now. In India, they'll be happy if it stays at 1-0 at the halfway mark. The second half, they might just try and go for a few more counters. Try and put a bit more numbers up front.
Hardly any touches. The likes of Edmund and Ryan Williams, Changte as well. Wonder what the plan is for Khalid Jamil to involve these players more into the game. Do they have to drop deeper? Do they have to play in a slightly different position, slightly different role? Maybe play slightly higher up the pitch along with Ryan Williams, who looks a little lonely when they're about to apply the press at times. Flipped over the top and should be kept in play as well. Roshan chasing. The cross is just going to come. In fact, it was checked back. Now Fuller again setting it up. Smartly done in the end. And before Ryan Williams just committing a foul and giving away a free kick. And quickly taken as the clouds seem to part ways. A little more sunshine at the valley. Clark. Chance for a hit. Gurpreet makes a save and gives away a corner. Decent attempt coming in from a distance, but he won't mind that.
Yeah, tall towering man loves to do that. And kind of a signature move as well. Uses that height of his to good extent and also decent reflexes. But finally, after a while, Jamaica starting to move forward.
Fuller takes again towards the near post. Changte's header outside the box. Flipped back in. That was easy to deal with. It's too easy at times for Jamaica to get into crossing positions, but they need to send in that cross slightly earlier before India's backline comes and defends them with relative ease. This India will not mind. If Jamaica are going to be shy of crossing the ball early on, India will not be shy of throwing in a challenge.
Just a few moments ago, Pulla, you said that somehow Jamaica, they're running short of ideas. It's been kind of one-dimensional for them. And also at the same time, maybe they are relying a bit more on the Indian mistakes than their own creativity. And if the mistakes haven't yet happened, Jamaica kind of coming forward all right, but then too blunt, giving the ball away too easily.
A little too relaxed. India need to capitalize on that. If Jamaica have come into this game almost as if they're half napping, then the onus is on India to make them pay for it. because Jamaica almost seem like a side which can change gears very quickly. It's almost as if they're, as you mentioned, India waiting for India to make a mistake, not forcing them to. The one goal cushion allows them that luxury to do so, but they can change gears very quickly, very much like that. This time the challenge, the ball won cleanly again. A couple of times now that Jamaica have got their penalty shouts waved away. Ryan Williams is simply getting no joy from the referee.
Well, the Indian defense, it's actually done a phenomenal bit of work apart from conceding that goal, because the balls that they have won, and that too in the box, it hasn't been easy. Also, Sandesh Shingan with a couple of crucial blocks, and that's kind of galvanized the overall Indian backline to put up somewhat of a similar performance.
Well, end of the first half. Important moments, the big moments that he can capitalize on, but played in a very different role under Khalid Jamil. And that's something that Edmund can't really control. Now, one player yet to come to the party is Changte. Haven't really seen him take on a few players, or even one for that matter.
Yeah, he had his role completely switched, basically once again getting himself stranded out in that final third of the opposition didn't really made sense to him. So he has been carrying forth the defensive responsibilities a lot more, which is all right, which is impressive. As you pointed out, in modern day football, every footballer has more than one role to perform.
And that's the limitation of Rahim Ali's game. Now, he can offer you a lot of that high press, a little more pace, a little more physical presence. Just had to be a little more careful with that first time pass into an area. Take a breath, be more composed. And sometimes in India, players just get stuck in that young player category and never come out of that. How about this for a chance now? And Rahim Ali can turn. Was he not allowed to turn? It doesn't really matter. But the offside flag is up. And about 5 seconds of chaos where Indian football fans went from yes, they have it to oh my God, he's missed to yes, we have it again and it's a goal, to the eventual dejection of the referee saying offside. Unfortunate in the end.
And just that little sluggish turn altogether. I mean, it could have just been a bit more on the active side, could have been on his toes, but then decent attack from India, despite the fact it concluded with an offside trap. But then India will certainly be taking a lot of heart from this, and this should act as a motivator for the entire side.
A shot of adrenaline to add to the halftime snack which they had. Good signs. And if they could have come back at 1-1, you never know. It's not as lenient, the refereeing, as it was last night. You remember some of the fouls just play on. Last night's game was just, let's get on with it. More stoppages in this one. Soft free kicks given away. The 2 penalty shouts, though, not given. The referee's done well with that. Here come Jamaica. That touch could have been on his left side to open up his body. Didn't work out. Ainsworth. Now it's played out wide. It's a high run as well. Decent cross, but just floating over Fuller. Nicely done by Changte. India keep possession. Here's Roshan. And both teams are slightly wasteful in possession. Baker takes it. The referee gives the free kick as Akash Mishra was stripped.
Of course, watching this game, the likes of Nigeria and Zimbabwe won't mind, because they know what they bring to the table. Definitely Nigeria, because they might be even smelling out another trophy from here on. Another Unity Cup trophy altogether. And just to add to what you said a few moments ago, yesterday's game, not as many stoppages as this one. Now, one of the reasons can be because of that fluid nature of the game.
Roshan as well to turn twice and then ran into traffic. Won it back, found Mishra. Akash Mishra should have just trusted himself and his instinct to run down the line with the ball. Farooq sends it back to Sandesh Chingan.
And for the Indian fans, the first 10 minutes of the second half, they'll actually be happy about how India has gone about their business. Not exactly sitting back entirely. Not that Jamaica has also got the opportunities of pressing forward.
It's a knockout tournament. There's no point sitting back unless you're in the lead. Sandesh Chingan sliding in with everything he got. Turns away as the yellow card is shown to him. He possibly knows it is a fair warning.
We're all aware of Sandesh Chingan. He's a man who doesn't really hold himself back. Always going for those full-blown tackles. Very, very experienced contender, a very hardy defender. And then a bit of smiles as well that he exchanges with the referee, understands why it was shown, and then eventually no love lost.
Here's that chance again. Is he offside? Possibly just offside, isn't he? Spared the blushes Jamaica were.
Maybe from that particular range when he got hold of the ball, could have just waited a bit longer. Could have just allowed his own teammates to arrive. A couple more options.
He was already offside, so do you mean the pass could have come slightly later? Yes, the pass that came towards Rahim Ali might have been probably half a second later, but Rahim Ali showed no real signs of coming back in line with the defender. It was just so instinctive and quick in that moment. Well, Ryan Williams will have to go off. And this is very unfortunate.
And definitely not a spectacle that the Indian fans would like to see. And he's been one of those players who've been quite at the heart, at the nexus of the latest conversations that's being driven around the Indian team. Scored a fine goal altogether, opened his account already. And that was followed by your incredible line, Puna, if we are not mistaken. The transition from a Socceroo to the Blue Tiger was complete.
Yeah, I had a chance to have a chat with him a couple of days ago, and he was manifesting a goal for himself in this game. Unfortunately, it hasn't gone his way, but that'll only make a character like Ryan Williams stronger. What it does, however, is allows Naufal to come and make his first appearance in India's sky blue shirt. Nice ball out wide. Beautifully slipped in play as well as Jamaica look for a second. Tempting to shoot from that angle, but you need to be so precise. And in that moment, Dixon was not really precise.
Yeah, and at the same time, it also tells you that is why the first goal scored by Courtney Clark was so good. Not exactly that kind of a diagonal angle, but then somewhat similar. Just from a bit more distance.
You're right, and that's the distance allows you to open your body and add that little spin onto the ball as well, but this time he completely got it wrong. Here's Farooq. India started the second half with a lot more energy than they did the first one. This should be easily dealt with as well. Little confusion eventually. Sandesh Chingan getting enough distance on that. Naufal does well to hop over that one. Finally, a season of maturity in the Indian Super League from Naufal with Mumbai City. Involved in 5 goals and assists as Jamaica sent this one in. Still quality lacking in the delivery from wide areas.
The inclusion of Nofal, not exactly a like-for-like replacement for Ryan Williams. Because Nofal's more of a left winger, loves to cut in, loves to take his shots, and kind of loves to create what Courtney Clark did at the other end. Tries to swerve at the second post. Ryan Williams, he's more active, especially on the right wing, cuts in from that right and then takes a shot. Also as a centre forward, he is decent enough. He's good enough. With Nofal, the plan of action might be different.
Chance for Jamaica to break. Over the top, and the flag has gone up. And Kada Marteri, the player who was making that run forward. Very popular, plays for Manchester City's youth side. First appearance for the senior team as well. And looking for his first goal in his first appearance. That's always special. That's something that Ryan Williams managed to do. Half an hour left and India look very much in it. And if they can keep it at 1-0 around the 80-minute mark, then they're going to pour forward. But if they can get something before that, then it's worth chasing a winner and then an equaliser. Put out for a throw-in. They're going to be another one of those long throw-ins. Rahul Beke with the towel. Must be refreshing to play without any running track around them. And for the Indian players, nice and flat this throw. Way more intimate, this atmosphere at the Valley. Good win back, Changte. Changte was fouled, and this is from a shooting distance. And Jamaica looking nervous as Low on his 80th cap goes into the referee's book.
A nice ball win altogether for India, and the way Changte just moved in, bringing in that extra bit of pace that he has, that kind of proved to be the unraveling of the Jamaican defense. There you go. Got hold of the ball and straight away moved in into that 5th gear. Wanted to move forward, wanted to get that drive in place.
Another change coming up for Jamaica. And they also introduce a fresh pair of legs. And probably the sense on the bench is that India just eating their way into this game again. Farooq Chaudhry and Changte stand over this one. Changte will eventually go for it, finds the wall. And then Jamaica coming under pressure this time. And through another set piece, it's going to be a corner.
Well, that free kick, it looked like it was gaining that height before it took the deflection. But then India, they'll be happy about this.
And Naufal did offer himself for that short corner, but he was quickly found. He's still an option. Farooq going towards that far post. Darting header might sit up. It did sit up very nicely eventually for Naufal on his weaker side, but he still managed to get that volley away and drove it slightly wider than he would have liked.
Yeah, but the height on that shot, that was of optimal range. Just couldn't hit it into that frame. Good idea altogether. Part execution was right, Pola, because ideally when you're going for the volley at times, it's the point of contact that creates a lot of confusion. But part execution was right. Only if he could have found the target, he could have been a hero in his country.
The player who came on for Jamaica, Giovanni Lang, he was also forced into making the clearance from that corner that came in, so instant action for him. Nicely won back by Farouk. All action in this second half. Yes, Changte in familiar Changte territory. Lalianzuala Changte with a hot shot and straight on the chest of Damien Lowe. And when he starts getting into a rather shifting gears from that particular position, it's so exciting. More of that, please.
Absolutely, more of that. India now looking a lot more active. Dangerous is not the word that we would like to use, but then a lot more active. And the good part is, it's been a while since Jamaica has actually ventured into that Indian territory.
Maybe now's the time to do so. Not a lot of threat in that cross. Clark, the goal scorer. Clark once more. Looks like he's in the mood to score more from distance. This time Gurpreet unmoved.
Not much he could have done if that ball would have been in the frame. Once again, going past with that little swishing action of his, opened up the shooting lane. And then, of course, when you've got a goal once from a long ranger, you tend to go for more from distance. But then India, they'll take the wind in their sails for now.
They've got to travel towards 1-1 though, with that wind in their sails. Rahim Ali. Changte. Switched out wide by Jeekson. Changte's cross in. And you've got to go the non-aerial route sometimes, it seems. Jamaica very strong at winning those headers. Changte's touch could have been better. Should be able to back himself to control that ball and then turn on it himself. And Jamaica have triggered a counter in response. An excellent tracking back in the end from Jeekson, making sure that India don't concede another chance. The game is suddenly opened up.
You know, both the sides probing each other, but then quality work altogether from India as well. Especially Jeekson knew it well. When you're going out for the attack, you will have to get your boots on, get your thrusters on to ensure that Jamaica is not finding the space.
Here comes the corner. Again, good defending from India. He switched out wide perfectly. The run is perfectly timed as well. Good defending from Sandesh Jingan. Both sides and their backlines busy. More defending to do. Fuller takes. India are not allowing anything through their near post. Ainsworth with the big switch. And this time the flag does go up.
He shifted into position way too early, almost gearing up to go for that run. A little smile as well on his face. But then the kind of performance that you've seen from India, definitely with the inclusion of Rahim Ali up top. And then Nufal coming on. Now with Nufal coming on, India would also hope the kind of activity that they are getting in from the right, with Shante getting a lot more involved. Maybe if Nufal can also give India a bit more space and maybe a bit more creativity as well from the left. Two wings active, and with 20 minutes to go and just that one goal down, this can very well be an opening that India is so desperately searching for.
Just wondering, looking at the bench right now, obviously late entrance into the party. Mohammad Sanan, Nikhil Bala. Two players Khalid Jamil knows very well from his time at Jamshedpur. Obviously Bala also exciting, but more of a fullback now, after being converted from what he used to be a winger. But it's Sanan. Sanan is the exciting player who everyone wants to see on the pitch. Fearless, doesn't really mind taking on players, takes a shot from a distance as well. Absolute nuisance when you unleash him against the back line. Khalid Jamil, surely he's tempted to put him on. Maybe the fact that he's just travelled, that they don't have enough football in their legs in comparison to others available in terms of training sessions and late entrance, that could be playing on his mind. He doesn't want to really injure the youngster. Sanan is a tough cookie. Surely play 20 minutes, 15 minutes, make something happen.
Yeah, Pulan, especially if you're playing out in a tournament like this, and especially a part of the national team, at times you have to step up, irrespective of what has been the past 48 hours for you. Forgetting that, keeping that behind, just step up. And like you said, 20 minutes on, I think it should be okay for a player to step in and just squeeze out his heart. And looks like quite a few changes for Jamaica that's going to come on.
Yeah, three of them coming on. Yeah, goal scorer Clark going off. I give you confirmation of the players coming on. It's because this is a friendly tournament, just like Rohit was struggling as well last night with the Zimbabwe team. The numbers and the names have not always matched, but eventually when we do give you the names, we will make sure that the numbers also match with them. And Jamaica nervous though, there for the taking right now. That ball surely going out of play.
Well, we are slowly heading to that 88th minute mark, and the scoreline still is 1-0. So maybe now, from here on, if you still keep that scoreline intact at that 88th minute mark, India might start thinking about getting in an extra striker in the mix. Ask Farooq Chaudhary, step up, combine alongside Rahim Ali, and put a bit more pressure on what has been a nervy outing so far in the second half for the Jamaicans.
And here's Ellis, number 11. We just got confirmation of all the players coming on though. Dwight Merrick, number 24. Number 21 is Tajuan Brown, and number 11, Nikhail Ellis.
Jamaica as well, just trying to play a bit more or keep a bit more possession and wins a free kick as well. Of course, Nikhil Pujari is at a busy day in office, but then that's what you want from a player of his stature, someone who's experienced. You want him to be a lot more involved, not just in terms of the defensive ability that he has, but also the kind of overlaps that he can bring into the mix.
Well, Vikram Pratap is ready to be brought on as well. So this is Khalid Jamil going all out now. Could stop that. Clearance needed more distance. Here's Ellis. Free kick for Jamaica.
The ref just looked at maybe, just maybe, there's another Jamaican player around the corner trying to get hold of the ball, but then immediately decided to lay down the law.
There's the give and go. This can be dangerous. And the cross is anything but. Nikhil Pujari was not taking any risk. Puts it out for a corner.
Maybe this is where a bit of communication was needed with who's behind you, or at least if someone's closing on.
Another header. And this time the new player, Merrick, with a big chance. It could have been something. Well, the 15 minutes on the clock. 15 minutes for India to still fight back into this. Much better in the second half. Maybe could have been a different result. Of course, you want to start a little cautious. And India also kind of surprised by Jamaica's blunt approach ever since scoring the opener.
And that is possibly where India should be raising their hands and say, not a problem. We like the fact that it's extremely direct, so maybe that also gives us a chance to try and come closer.
Naufal doesn't want to take the shorter throw in. Akash Mishra has also left it. Now they're going to go and pile on the bodies inside the box. We mentioned this yesterday, didn't we? Every throw in from that kind of distance is going to be a long ball into the box. Cheekson also available. You can see some players hovering outside the area as well. This is very good from Rahul Beke, just in terms of how he keeps it slightly flatter and not loopy. A bit of holding from Cheekson under John Brown, giving away the free kick.
The thing with long throws is that, first and foremost, the kind of games that the Indian teams play, the opposition is different. For Jamaica, for the sides like Jamaica, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, they've got very tall centre-backs. It's hard to beat them with something like that.
Oh, this is a great opening. Wonderful footwork as well. What a hit. What a goal. And Jamaica have put it to bed eventually. It is Dixon's goal, and he's danced past India's backline and smashed it past Gurpreet to shatter the hopes of the Blue Tigers. After being passive for such a long time, how about that? The first touch away from everybody, leaves Mishra hanging, takes it on the other side, and then bang! Faster diving Gurpreet. And the special second goal coming in from Dixon to make sure that he will remember it for a long, long time. The right winger who actually plays for Charlton Athletic. This is his home, and he scores at the Valley. It's almost as if it was written in the stars for him.
Absolutely, and what an incredible goal. The kind of footwork that he came up with, the kind of creativity that left the entire Indian defence simply ball watching, maybe to a certain extent. Yes, there were a few movements hither and yon, but not enough to try and stall him.
Brilliant work. And where was all of that footwork and magic in that first half and all the way up until the 80-minute mark? That's not taking away any credit from the Indian backline, but the likes of Dixon really had to step up slightly earlier. But this was the fear. Jamaica always seemed to have that little change in gears, always waiting somewhere in the wings for them. It's almost even not like a change in gears, it was like a pit stop for a Formula One car. Changing their tyres and making sure that they whiz past India. Here they come again.
They are now firing on all cylinders. And it'll be hard for India to try and contain that aggressive mindset of theirs. And after that second goal, it feels like India has just gone into that little defensive husk of theirs. And there you go. All set to come on. The question remains is it a bit too late from Khalid Jamil?
Might just be. It's not like his head is on the line, but there are coaches in the past who have lost their jobs because of making changes too late. Now Jamaica suddenly alive and awake. Rahim Ali. A stray arm. And catching his marker. And Damien Lowe seems to have been hurt. And Naufal's been taken off for Vikram Pratap. Extremely confusing decision there. And Roshan will be going off as well. Ricky Shabong getting his first appearance for India as well. He's had a fantastic season in the Indian Super League. And congratulations to young Ricky Shabong. What an all-round midfielder he is.
Once again, kind of stood up to pressure. And this is such a situation where India are feeling the pressure. Just a few moments ago, Rahim Ali, he looked good, at least in terms of trying to carry the ball forward, but then just that little bit of arm. And now things getting a bit too physical here. But Jamaica will enjoy that.
But Rohit, just coming back to that, what is the point of taking Naufal off and bringing on Vikram? You've given a player a national team debut. You've conceded the second goal. There's about 10 minutes left in this. Surely there's a chance to salvage something, maybe. But is the best way of salvaging a 2-goal deficit taking off someone like a Naufal, who's just been on for about 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it is, and then bringing on Vikram? Is there no other option out there which could be better? This is a question that I'm not sure if there's enough media right now waiting in England to ask this question, but Naufal can be disappointing. Why bring him on for like 15 minutes? It's almost like an insult. Unless he's hurt. Then we take back everything we've said so far. Here's Vikram. Nice touch this from Rahim Ali. Unable to really get his foot around that.
A decent move altogether. And possibly India's second shot. Not on target, of course, but then possibly the second shot of the game that India took. Rahim Ali will take a lot of heart from that at least. And coming back to that Naufal point, I just was getting there that maybe if he's injured, then Khalid Jamil didn't really have any options. But if not, then doesn't really make sense. Absolutely doesn't really make sense.
Nice flick that from Vikram. And eventually the free kick given in Jamaica's favour. A little deflating, that second goal conceded by India. Has taken a lot of the wind in their sails, and just like you mentioned earlier, all gone now. Another free kick. This time Jackson gives it away.
Yeah, with all those changes coming on, Pula, that has kind of re-established Jamaica's dominance, and they're doing better than they were doing even in the first 10 minutes. They're a lot more active. They're winning every single ball.
Good run this. Beautiful pass. Excellent first touch. And Jamaica now purring with confidence. And Changte coming away with it. Does just enough to quell that attack.
Feels like India's kind of accepted their fate for now, but again, a few changes that were being made. Of course, one particular factor can be pulled up because of the depleted numbers that India had. So maybe he didn't really have the right options.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see what lineup is put out against Zimbabwe, because they looked way better than Jamaica did tonight. Let's be fair to them. They lost out against Nigeria. Jamaica will eventually go and play the final against Nigeria if it stays like this, which it's very likely it'll stay like this. But if India come up against Zimbabwe in that third place playoff, it's not going to be easy. They were absolute machines. But they'll have to be smart about selection. Khalid Jamil as well. A lot of thinking to do. Especially when there's no midfield controller. All of that has been snatched away.
And also, it depends on how grave is Ryan Williams' injury, because if Ryan Williams is unavailable as well, possibly India's best weapon is being taken away from them.
And that was a very quick decision, if you remember, from the team doctors. This is a good chance. It looked like it was blocked by his own player eventually. India have simply not troubled Boyce, Clark in goal. And Farooq Chaudhary will be coming off. There he is. Sanan's chance finally with 3 minutes left. Long ball arrowed in again. Would have been offside anyway if Rahim Ali got involved. There has to be a way to find someone to cross the ball in from a shorter throw in. Because you mentioned the centre backs and the stature of them. Against Zimbabwe, you're not going to be able to get that kind of joy. We mentioned it in yesterday's game, but surely not a lot of people were tuning in to watch Nigeria-Zimbabwe. A lot of the country still tuned into this one, but it almost feels like a shortcut, that long throw in. Almost feels like, oh, I don't want to work on how to get a short throw in and work the ball into the box, so let's put it in long. Works sometimes, but those sometimes are not enough times in international football. Maybe in club football, you're playing week in, week out, you can work on something. Not in international football, when you have one game in a few months or two games in a few months, you can't really work on a long throw in like that.
Also, Pula, it just begs the question, where's the variety? If every throw that you're getting
Great
close
word.
to that box...
Great word, Rohit. Variety, no variety. Yes, Changte. Much better delivery this time. Ball bouncing just in front of Sandesh Jingan, who does well to put it back into the area. Little pressure, and eventually Boyce Clark has it.
Much better from India, to be honest. Now that's what they needed to do throughout the game. And they've just woken up with a minute to go.
Here's Dixon, scorer of the second goal. Nicely done. Ricky Shabong's entry has immediately helped India. Vikram Pratap was offside. This is much better, more energetic. It's about time we saw Khalid Jamil be a bit more brave and maybe have a completely different selection against Zimbabwe. Maybe play Ricky Shabong, Mohammad Sanan, Vikram Pratap right from the off. See what they can do. Usher in a new era of attackers. The days of safety first are gone. It's knockout football. It's an invitational tournament. Yes, there are FIFA points attached, but there's no expectation, which means there's not much to lose.
And maybe this is where you ask the question now, at least the kind of football that India's played in the second half, what if they actually could avail the services of Sahal, Anirudh Thapa, Apuya to a certain extent as well? Kind of adds a new dimension to this midfield of India that's been very, very passive.
Sanan's ball, smartly done. Here's Rahim Ali. Vikram Pratap's asking for it. Gets it as well. Manages to stay on his feet. Shankar tumbles. And Cheekson takes it out wide, but doesn't get it right. And Jamaica looking for the killer blow. Gurpreet Singh Sandhu will easily take this. Akash Mishra's pass. Rahim Ali went down under pressure. It'll be a free kick.
Yeah, just a little late plunge from India, possibly the introduction of Vikram Pratap Singh and at the same time Ricky Shabong. We talked about this. Maybe it's coming a bit too late, and they've done a few things already. Now, a little injury concern for that Jamaican player. Show of concern from the Indian player as well. Not something that was liked by him. Had an instant glare altogether. Free kick now in India's favor. Again, some consolation maybe.
Even if they can get a goal back, it'll be something to celebrate. And past the 3 minutes of minimum added time, so it'll be the last throw of the dice. Great evening for the Jamaican fans who've turned up, and they've turned up in numbers at the Valley.
We believe there are a few Indian fans as well, because when India got that chance and at least they put the ball into the net, there was a massive roar at the other side. So it kind of tells you that football